Hey guys, I'm Combat Craig, and today we're talking about TERA. We're going to go deep into it, and I have Benjamin Krause with me, and he's going to help me explain it. And how's it going, Ben?
Hey, it's going well. Thanks, man. Looking forward to talking a little bit of TERA action and getting into what the Department of Veterans Affairs seems to be doing behind the scenes to possibly limit access to this as time goes on.
What is TERA, just to kind of start off with?
So the TERA process, this all flows out of, and I'm going to read off some slides, right? Because there are big words, and sometimes I'm not a big word kind of guy, if you know what I mean. I may be an attorney, and I also play one on TV, but when it comes to big words, sometimes I need cliff notes too. So I'm going to read off exactly what TERA is. And then I'm going to talk to you. You got any questions? Let me know. But TERA is the title is Toxic Exposure Risk Activity. And
activity.
And so this is part of the PACT Act. This is something that the government has birthed out of its loins from Congress. And so now we have this TERA and the Eiler reports, right? Acronym after acronym after acronym. So basically, at a real high level, the Eiler reports give information that is relevant to wherever the veteran was. And so if you were exposed to it, odds are it's going to pop up in the Eiler, or at least hopefully. And this is something I'm digging into in my own investigations as a journalist and a veteran rights attorney, looking at like, what is this like wild thing? And so in theory, it's the Eiler report is going to tell the VA everything that you might have been exposed to, the relevant amounts, things like that, to then find out if you can get certain presumptive ratings, and that'll be in the TERA report. So the Eiler tells you what you were probably exposed to, and then the TERA, the other part, documents if in fact you were exposed to it for presumptive purposes and related.
So you're saying that you're going to dig deeper into it. So just kind of sidestepping this, personal example. When I was looking at Desert Storm stuff, I don't know when I first looked at it, but I was in Turkey, so I was actually stationed there, and it wasn't on like the list. But on my DD-214, it says, combat veteran on there and where I was at. So these reports aren't always necessarily accurate. These lists aren't accurate, but that's one hurdle that you've jumped if you are in one of these places according to what the VA says. Let me jump in here real quick and tell you about my boot camp. If you want to learn more about the VA claims process, check out my boot camp. You can talk to me live. There's a link on the website and in the description, combatcraig.com. And also, if you need medical evidence like a nexus or documenting your symptoms properly, go to our website, combatcraig.com, and it says medteam/nexus letters. Click on that link, fill out the form. Boom, you're done. But we don't even know how accurate that is.
Yeah, I think we're going to find out. There's going to be some things are going to be accurate and obvious.
Right.
Others are not. At the end of the day, you think about how long it took the Secretary of State, or the State Department rather, and the VA to admit to like everywhere we put Agent Orange, right, and the herbicides, and we still don't know. It took them.
I was going to say they're not done admitting. They're not done
admitting much, and so since not 70 years, since the 60s, we know that we've been using it and we've been shipping it. We just wouldn't admit exactly to where we were using it or where we were shipping it, where we were storing it, how it was stored, all this stuff. It took decades to finally get to the bottom of it, and even now we're only at the top levels.
Right. It's unclassified, but they're still hiding. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of people that comment on YouTube that are like, what about this place? We're literally, we're spraying it all over each other, in whatever, somewhere in California or something. So
taking baths in the stuff.
Taking baths in this stuff, yeah.
Actually, not good. So it took us a long time to admit that we were using Agent Orange and herbicides. First, it took forever to admit what it did anyway. Initially, it was chloroacne, right? And it might give you a little bit of a lung cough for a minute. And that was about the extent of it up into the 80s, then the 90s. Okay, well, maybe it might cause cancer, but we don't really know. And then after that, 2000s roll around, and finally they're like 2011. They're like, oh yeah, it may cause all these other things that everyone kind of
Is
said it
dropping
might
dead
cause.
from, right.
Dropping dead. And so, okay, well, we better, jam pack the courts now and the VA claim system to make sure these Vietnam vets get in there. Otherwise, they're not going to get benefits. So finally, after most that had been exposed probably, died prematurely, they let in the stragglers. And so they let the stragglers in, and it took forever, decades, and they're still, are fighting over some of the nuances of where it's at, and they still won't admit fully to what they did because they don't want to admit to our allies or to certain, foes even overseas exactly what we were doing. I think we were doing lots of stuff we shouldn't have been doing. That's what it looks like to me. I've been to the EPA library, or the rather not the EPA, it's the I can't even remember now, USDA library, where they have the Young library of all of his research. Young was a researcher for the Air Force during Vietnam and after, and had done a bunch of research about the effect of this, and generally said that it doesn't really apply. It's not that bad. But when you look at his research, man, I'll tell you, it looks pretty darn bad. Especially like a proclaimant system when you're adjudicating in a way that's supposed to be, the tie goes to the runner being you, the veteran. Then you would think that they would be, more forthcoming. Of course, they're not, because they don't want to get a black eye and admit that we were doing such stupid stuff with this, to the point where we're still causing kids to have birth defects in Vietnam, and we're using it not as, a defoliant, but using it, in my opinion, as a chemical weapon, where they were using dosages that were significantly higher than what they should have been doing, knowing it was going to make people sick on purpose. I mean, that's a big chunk of it. And so you had all these reports, including reports from Russia that had been declassified and also translated, that I had read when I went to the Young Library outside, or in Maryland rather. And the information's right there. It tells you what we were doing, the dosages, how it was being used constructively or intentionally as a chemical weapon in that context, or at least having that function. And, people were getting sick, and it was causing an inability to grow food, caused a lot of other problems, not just to like knock some leaves off.
To kill some foliage. That is 1/20th mixture. Let's just crank it up and shoot it straight out 2020, see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, if 1/20th is good, 2020's got to be better.
Absolutely, more is more.
Yeah, let's do the American way. We got to double down, baby.
Yep. 10x.
Right, 10x that. Yeah, Grant Cardone this. Come on.
Yes, totally. Let me jump in here real quick and tell you about my boot camp. If you want to learn more about the VA claims process, check out my boot camp. You can talk to me live. There's a link on the website and in the description, combatcraig.com. And also, if you need medical evidence like a nexus or documenting your symptoms properly, go to our website, combatcraig.com, and it says medteam/nexus letters. Click on that link, fill out the form. Boom, you're done.
But yeah, so anyway, here's what we got with this process, right? I can already tell, given the way the data looks and given how the agency is using, that this is going to be it's going to be beneficial for a lot of vets. It's probably going to be misused, and it'll be eventually used as a trope where they're going to trot out the TERA and deny a lot of veterans. So they're going to eventually whittle it down. There's going to be some veterans, probably by some I mean tens of thousands, that are going to get screwed because of what the TERA is going to have in it, and it will not be fully accurate. Okay, so I think that's for sure going to happen no matter what. I can already see how they're angling within some of the documents. Like if you want to go to some of the websites of different publishers, they have the VA's documents, and the VA documents there show you how they try to carve out physical trauma, some mental health disorders. And I can tell you, as an attorney, and also an attorney who's worked on med mal cases, that I wouldn't call it overactive imagination, but I can think of some ways where physical trauma may manifest in this, arena because of a TERA exposure. All right, so here we go. Boom, here it is. TERA flowchart. Like, that thing is a mess. Look at that. Like, how any human, is, without an advanced training in something, is going to be able to figure this out. Like, I have no idea.
Yeah, I've seen this. So is there anything about this you want to talk about other than what a piece of shit?
It's a train wreck, and that at the end of the day, this is going to be all fed into a computer. It's not going to be a human really doing this.
Yeah,
And
bot's
so
gonna do it.
they're going to have the bots and the AI do it. And that there's going to be some inherent bias within how they build that system out, But
Right.
so here's the when they may or may not apply. And then they get into veteran claims service connection for major depressive disorder. Veteran submits 4138 indicating feeling depressed.
Well, these ones right here over on the third way over, where it's like, is this being claimed as a presumptive or is it being claimed as a muck me? Just walking into muck me's is just a rabbit hole within a rabbit hole of more questions. And then there's another one where they throw the muck me's around.
How about this? And what I always like just in claims in general is like where it starts. I get a thing. I look at thing. Is there lay or other evidence of the claimed disability? Now, tell me what veteran going in for an initial claim knows that they need to provide a statement about this.
Right.
None. They don't know. None. And so, because they think that the VSO is going to do it for them. And then, you look at the next thing. An exam and opinion are not warranted for the claimed condition because there's no other evidence. Well, you know what they're doing for the other evidence? They have some very low-level employee of the contractor going through the record and then pinning through the file where they think the condition might be referenced, and the doctors or nurse practitioners aren't even going through it. They're just, it's not pinned. Oh, I guess it's not there. Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Yeah. And so you got very low-level, low-trained employees that are actually going through the record to find the evidence, and they don't even know what. There could be something very obvious that is evidence. They don't even realize it's evidence.
Right.
Or they can't read, cursive or something like that, because they just graduated high school. I don't know. Anyway, so I don't have much on this other than I suspect that there's going to be a lot of veterans that are going to get screwed. But I think that the real issue, well, I'm seeing it. So they're not even screwing them there. You submit something like sleep apnea. What they're doing is they're saying, well, we deny based on TERA because there's no evidence that sleep apnea is caused by this TERA. Well, I didn't consider it for TERA. I considered it on either direct or secondary condition based on, I have sinusitis and allergic rhinitis. Oh, whoa, radical. Well, you better.
So they're applying TERA to direct service connection and secondary service connection claims.
Yeah.
Which TERA would probably fall under presumptive, right? 100% or for the most part?
Usually, I could see different things that I could use a TERA for, but I think that in this context, they're applying it to other stuff, and then they're not considering other theories of service connection. So they're not even getting the secondary. They're just thinking TERA, not TERA, and they're bumping it out, even if you didn't mention anything about it. And that's what they're considering. I've seen it.
Let me jump in here real quick and tell you about my boot camp. If you want to learn more about the VA claims process, check out my boot camp. You can talk to me live. There's a link on the website and in the description, combatcraig.com. And also, if you need medical evidence like a nexus or documenting your symptoms properly, go to our website, combatcraig.com, and it says medteam/nexus letters. Click on that link, fill out the form. Boom, you're done.
So the problem with TERA is that we're seeing that TERA is being used as an excuse to deny without consideration of like any other theory. When you could be claiming something like sleep apnea, which may or may not have anything to do with TERA, they may grant like sinusitis and or allergic rhinitis and not even consider sleep apnea as a secondary, and they'll just say, well, there's no evidence in TERA that TERA might cause sleep apnea, therefore deny. They consider nothing else, they'll kick it out. I've had cases where I've even put in, hey, consider this for secondary to sinusitis and allergic rhinitis, for example, and they'll kick it back out under TERA without even addressing what I wrote down. So they're not even reading what the attorney says half the time, much less what the veteran says.
Yeah, right.
Just forget about it, and then if you happen to be going to like a CVSO or whatever for your initial claim, you're going to be putting this in. You don't even know that your claim may get bumped out because nobody provided any additional clarification or argument other than writing down, allergic rhinitis or writing down sinusitis and doing nothing else, which is usually, I would say, almost every CVSO or VSO rather written claim rarely has any explanation other than precisely what the condition is. What's kind of scary to me is that you have people that may or may not have a college education who are making a determination medically and legally and putting it down. And the VA is making then a decision on whether they're going to do an exam or not. And the folks are, in my opinion, not even qualified to even make that assessment. So there might be like symptoms of this or that in there, and they're putting down what they think the diagnosis might be, guessing. They're not a
And
doctor.
and we're talking about qualified medical professionals that didn't even bother to get the degree.
Basically,
Yeah.
And so so in other words, the TERA stuff, it's great. It's going to be really expensive for the VA. And now we're finding out that internally the senior leadership doesn't even want the employees to do it right. And so now we found out about a week ago, it came out through one of the attorney forums I'm a participant in, that some of the senior level adjudicators are highlighting and warning everybody that leadership within the VA is rigging the game. Now, that shouldn't surprise anybody that the leadership may be wanting to rig the game here, because they're realizing that the Eiler and TERA process is probably going to cost the VA a lot, and they're not going to be able to use that money to fund community care for illegal aliens and whatnot, which I know they're probably wanting to divert the money to do.
Of course. Yep. Ukraine,
that's
you
a whole
name
other
it.
rabbit trail there that I may go down at a different date. But, they're having all kinds of hiring issues magically, even though they have record budgets. They've never had so much money, but then they're like, oh, more doctors for veterans? Hell no. We're not doing that. We're gonna cut that. Don't you worry where that money's going. It's fine. No, it's fine. We're taking good care of the vets. You're heroes. Everyone's a hero. Pat you on the back.
Yep. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service, and don't let the door hit your backside on the way out.
Yep.
So what we found out that they're doing is that they're not going to be updating the Eiler and TERA reports whenever the database is updated, whenever the science might change, whenever there's a change. Now imagine that. So we have a government that we know withholds information from soldiers, sailors, combat vets, and everyone else. You don't get to know what the government really knows. And if they didn't disclose all the information over here, apply that to the Vietnam vets. If this happened to the Vietnam vets, you'd get no more benefits than acne. Oh, you got some acne. Oh, that other stuff doesn't exist.
Right.
This is the equivalent here of the risk. And so they're saying to veterans, we're not going to update this even if we find out that our data then was wrong. Well, you already got your TERA report. We don't need to do that again.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We did that. Right.
Don't you worry about it. Hey, and you know what? The due process rights you gave up so we could have this super fast and fancy appeals modernization system where your appeals still take 4 years to get adjudicated at the board.
So much faster. Yeah.
That one where they convinced us to give up all of our rights through our VSO brothers.
Yep.
Okay. So they talked us into giving up those rights because it's really hard for the VA to do their job. So we had to give up those rights, and now you have to fill out these complicated forms that require an attorney to fill out properly, or somebody at least with specialized training, because they're too complicated for at least lay veterans to do, according to the people that made the forms.
Right.
And they're now admitting, it's too complicated. You wrote the form. You made that, and then you made us do it. What do you mean it's too complicated? You didn't read it first?
Sounds like the VA to me.
Yeah, bam. What do you mean? Read it first? Why would we do that? That's stupid.
Yep.
Reading, that's ridiculous. They're busy getting $180,000 a year and their salary at the top, but why would they read? That's silly.
So flowchart doesn't make any sense. The way that they're laying this out, they're going to go with old data and purposely not update it. Basically, that's what you guys are talking about and seeing behind the scenes, and probably what's happening. So this thing's problematic all over the place.
Oh, 100%. And it's bad when higher level VA employees. Now, these are not leadership, right? This is not leadership. These are employees that are really there because they care about vets. They want to do the right thing, but they're not like low level employees. They're kind of in the middle.
They've been there for 10 years or something at least, right?
Yeah. Right. And they're adjudicating these cases, and they're, at the DRO level or something like that, or the SVR level. And so they're higher level, and they're worried. And so they're like, hey, by the way, we're going to start screwing you in the back. So please get the word out. We're going to tell you exactly what it is, right? And so that's what we came across. And so they wanted us to know as attorneys, and this is why I passed it on to you, like this is what the inside folks want us to know. They want us to know that the VA has this sneaky little way they're going to screw some vets. Now, we're always on the lookout for that because it's always going on. But in this context, they just got the money for the PACT Act.
Right.
It's a lot of money. They should be spending the money on the right things. And now we're finding out, well, we may have some other priorities over here for non-Americans. So we're not going to worry as much about the PACT Act. But thank you for your service. Really glad you gave us that little boost there to the old budget.
Here's a little brownie pin. You're a hero. We love you. Yep.
Right. Yeah. Hey,
keep the paycheck coming
every year, but don't come any other time. Just for that parade. And then otherwise, you better not come back, or we're going to get you.
Yep. Let me jump in here real quick and tell you about my boot camp. If you want to learn more about the VA claims process, check out my boot camp. You can talk to me live. There's a link on the website and in the description, combatcraig.com. And also, if you need medical evidence like a nexus or documenting your symptoms properly, go to our website, combatcraig.com, and it says medteam/nexus letters. Click on that link, fill out the form. Boom, you're done. All right, cool. Well, sounds like we have lots of good information on the on TERA. So what you're looking at in the flowcharts of pain and what's going on behind the scenes is even more confusing. So thanks for breaking that down. And Benjamin, if people wanted to get a hold of you, where would they go? How would they find you?
Yeah, two places. So first, it's my blog, disabledveterans.org. That's been up for about 15 years. I've been writing on that thing, plugging away. And then in my law practice, benjaminkrauselaw.com. If you type in my name, it should come up. And that's where we're helping veterans across the table, whether it's a med mal case, mass tort with exposure to AFFF, or VRE benefits if you get denied becoming a doctor or lawyer. That's something I do a lot. I love helping.
That's what you did personally. That's what I love about your VRE story is you're a lawyer through VRE.
Well, they didn't want to pay for it.
No,
but
of course
I just
not.
kept coming back, and every time, hey,
still had the lawyer up, even though you weren't a lawyer. I love that story about you. Awesome. I'll put links to all that stuff in the description too, so people can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if anyone has a question about all that stuff, happy to help if I can. But at the end of the day, man, we're going to be punching back at this. There's a couple other issues going on right now with some massive data security problems at Department of Veterans Affairs that we're going to be talking about over the next couple months, if not years, probably, because it's going to take them a while to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah,
years.
Decades.
While the agency tries to cover it up.
Perfect.
It's the years.
All right, cool. We'll see you when we do another video, which I hope is soon.
Sounds good.
If you want to learn more about the VA claims process, you can join my boot camp at combatcraig.com. If you need medical evidence like a nexus, DBQ filled out, something to support your claim, you can go to combatcraig.com, and up at the top it says medteam/nexus, and it's outlined in green, so you can get everything you need at the website.